What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crawdad Lake, and welcome to day 2 of the Gift of Fanfiction, an event I am holding where each day of December 2020, I upload a video where I read a one-shot for Santa Sides, basically just a winter or holiday-themed one-shot. And today we're reading Snow and Roses by Backstreet Spears. Summary. It's Christmas time in the mindscape. When it starts to snow, that's when things pick up a little on excitement. Virgil was just settling down onto his soft bed. The sheets shifted with the pressure of his body weight going down on it, starting at the ever-shining digital clock, the blocky letters in red illuminating their way into his eyes. 6:30 a.m. Perfect time to sleep, the tired side thought, drifting slowly into sleep. A little tad later, Virgil very unfortunately got woken up by a sound. It wasn't his alarm clock. It only really said it if there was something going on. Virgil grudgingly sat up, taking the opportunity to stretch his arms, his head turned towards the nightstand. It was holding 4 things: his phone, a water bottle, a lamp, and the alarm clock. Glancing at the alarm, it read 6:47 a.m. Whole 17 minutes of sleep, he thought, drifted off the clock, and he looked at the wall. The sound was music blasting from the hallway. The tired side deduced. Footsteps rang through the hall. Virgil could tell it was Roman based on the pattern of steps. The song was now interpretable. It was Mariah Carey. I don't care about the presents, a voice echoed from the hall. It was the voice of a fellow prince and Mariah Carey's top song, a fearsome duo in his opinion. Underneath the Christmas tree, a different voice continued. It was very energetic. It was Patton, a less fearsome trio. After a twist of his door handle, Roman burst through his door. Virgil jumped and accidentally bumped his head into the wall. Merry Christmas, kiddo! Patton cheered. We can't open gifts until everyone else is downstairs, the father figure informed. Virgil nodded and watched as they all left the room, Patton closing the door behind him, pushing Roman out. Virgil slid out of his bed. Virgil was in black sweatpants, so he didn't think it was necessary to change out of them. Virgil slipped his fuzzy slippers on and then switched his pajama shirt to a loose purple t-shirt and slipped on his hoodie. Virgil was staring at the door when he saw a light illuminate from his nightstand. Virgil grabbed his phone. It was a basic notification. Virgil quickly checked the time. 6:56. Shoving his device back into his pocket, stepping outside his room, continuing his journey down the hallway. Virgil was dragging himself through the hall without having a real chance of waking up. Stepping down the stairs, Virgil noticed Logan in one of the leather seats, reading a book while his phone laid face down next to him on the arm of the chair he was occupying. Logan glanced up. He was in his everyday attire. Merry Christmas, Virgil. I hope your sleep was ideal. His tone was mainly his normal voice, but there was a glint of something else there. Possible excitement or happiness. Patton and Roman turned to look at him as Virgil made his way over. Patton was in his cat onesie next to Logan. Roman was in a red and yellow plaid pajamas with his Christmas sweater over it. Do you like it, Lo? Patton chirped. Merry Christmas, Logan, Virgil muttered in response as he sat next to Roman in a spot. Logan gave a small nod of acknowledgement. Roman shifted away from him, and Patton stood up. Kiddos, let's open presents now. I'll go first for the Secret Santa. I had Logan. Patton excitedly cheered, walking over to the tree. He picked up a box wrapped in dark blue wrapping paper and a silver bow drawing on top, passing it to the intellectual side, who took it, taking off the bow and the paper in a fashion that wasn't just ripping it apart. Logan took Patton's gift out. It was a collection of H.P. Lovecraft, the intellectual observing the cover. Yes, Indeed, a great choice, Logan replied excitedly. Paddin looked extremely pleased with this statement. I know you like Sherlock, so I wanted to find something close enough to it, he explained. Well, thank you. I will start reading it soon. It's clear you thought of me when getting it. The logical trait placed the book to his side. I will make room to start this as soon as I can. Roman picked up the gift, wrapping in light pastel covers. It seems I had you also. He passed the box to the father figure, who took it, ripping the paper to shreds. He took out a stuffed dog, with a gray cardigan around the animal's shoulders. The stuffed animal with glasses had brown eyes. Paddin gave the gift a strong squeeze. It's so cute! Paddin squealed. It looks so much like me, thank you, Logan. Paddin stared at it. His eyes were bright with excitement. The father figure then turned. Wait, who will go next? Janice raised his hand. I totally don't want to go next with the gift exchange. Penny gave a small nod, and Janice walked over to the tree, picking up a box with green wrapping paper on it. Janice handed the green box to Remus, who quickly ripped it apart. Remus opened the box and held a few things that could be used for pranks. Remus looked at a vial of which Virgil thought was disappearing ink. Roman gave a sigh in a way that said, oh boy. Ooh, these things could be fun, Remus smirked while speaking out to everyone. After a second, he skipped over to the tree, picking up a small red box, passing it to his brother. Roman hesitantly grabbed the box and unwrapped it. He said something out, and he gave a small squeal. Is this the complete Disney song collection? Remus nodded. Roman exclaimed the perfectly sealed CD with a small smile. Eventually, Roman picked up something from under the tree. He passed it to Virgil, who could tell he was nervous. Virgil took the box as Roman sat back down next to me. Virgil looked at the box and adored the top of the lid. Virgil gently took the lid off. It held a small key. Virgil looked at him, confused, as he picked up a silver key. Key? Virgil asked him. Roman scoffed. I wouldn't just give you a silly old key. Virgil sighed. Princey, if you have some crazy adventure plan, would you mind waiting for me to give my gift? Roman nodded, and Virgil put the key in his pocket. Virgil walked to the remaining present and picked up a yellow and green box. Virgil handed it to Janice, who took it and looked at him. What's this? Is it going to jump out at me? Janice teased Virgil, who brushed it off and sat back down. Janice looked back at the box, taking the paper off and opening the box. He took out a yellow snake plush with a hat on. This was totally expected, Janice spoke, almost to the plushie. He looked in awe at the snake, eventually booping it on the nose. Now are we done? Roman asked. Paddin gave a half shrug. Come on! Before Virgil knew it, Roman grabbed his wrist and dragged him to elsewhere. I feel like you've plotted something, Virgil muttered, looking behind himself to see Logan and Paddin following. They both seemed to be equally confused. After Roman dragged him outside, he handed Virgil a blindfold. What are you even doing? I really don't think you're gonna do something. Yeah. You'll see, Roman replied as Virgil put it on. You're gonna kill me, aren't you? Roman let out an offended gasp to the question. I would never! He shot back, starting to guide him. Virgil could hear the footsteps of the others. He eventually slowed down. Watch your step, Roman warned as there was a sudden step. Virgil gave an unsure nod. Virgil let Roman guide him. It was cold, almost too cold for the emo. Okay, you can stop now. Virgil heard the prince's character's voice. Virgil did so as Roman took the blindfold off Virgil. The four of them were in the garden, in front of a gate. The gardens have been here forever. What's so different? Virgil queried. Where's the key? Roman asked Virgil. Virgil stuck his hand into his pocket, pulling out in his palm, showing the prince as he waved Virgil over. Pat and Logan were close behind. Did we leave Remus and Janice alone? Virgil realized they weren't with them. They did not wish to follow, Logan responded. Roman looked at both of them. Virgil, unlock the gates. Oh, yeah. Virgil quickly countered. Virgil put the key into the lock, twisting to the side, then pushing the gate open. Should we go inside? Roman nodded eagerly. Virgil walked in, Roman on his heels, Pat and Logan right behind. It's beautiful, Virgil replied before turning his gaze back to the garden. Virgil reached out to touch one of the flowers. How did you do this? Virgil asked after a moment. His hand was cupping the side of the flower. It seemed to be a simple garden, for the prince at least, but yet beautiful. It was roughly the size of a small room. There were tall hedges in place of the walls. His feet took himself to the center as Virgil looked around. There were roses. Not any, though. There were purple and dark leaves, and bushes appeared thornless as Pat and Logan trailed, and they both looked around. Roman must have noticed his reaction. Do you like it, Stormcloud? Virgil looked at him. Roman couldn't answer before Patton shouted, Guys, look! He pointed at the sky. Virgil complied, seeing white speckles could be seen floating down in graceful fashion. I think it's snowing! The dad figure excitedly cheered. Virgil watched as snowflakes started hitting the ground. The bricks started to dot with the white. Patton stuck his tongue out, trying to catch one. Virgil stuck his hand out as one of them landed on him. As it melted, Virgil felt a shiver gently graze his skin from the cold. Virgil pulled his jacket closer onto himself. Can we go inside where it's warmer? Virgil spoke the last part in a whisper. Logan nodded. I think it's in everyone's interest so we don't get sick. Patton sighed as a form of complaint, but eventually started out. Virgil followed as Logan left. Roman followed them, but stopped at the gate. Hot topic, lock the gate. Virgil nodded and grabbed the key, turning it until he heard a click of the locking. Virgil pushed the gate to double-check if it was closed, walking back to the group as the snow kept gently falling on the ground and by them. By the time they walked to the door, we could start seeing the shapes of the soles of our shoes on the ground. After we walked in, Roman being the last, he closed the door. Patton looked out the window. Let's all get ready to play in the snow! Logan looked at the parental trait. Patton, there isn't nearly enough snow to play in. Logan did air quotes around the word play. He pushed his glasses up and headed off to a different room. Where are you going, Lo? Patton questioned. I'm going to pour myself a cup of coffee. It's nearly 8 a.m., Logan replied. That's when Virgil remembered the fact that he's running on barely any sleep. Logan left, and Patton followed the logical side. Virgil started heading off into his room. What are you up to, Emo? Roman asked, right after Virgil turned his back. Not a ton, Virgil replied, still not turning to face him. Then where are you going? Roman asked, grabbing his arm. Everyone else is here, even Janice and Remus for some reason. He gestured to the two others sitting in the living room. They were playing cards, and they were getting louder. Someone was obviously starting to win. It was oddly calming, everyone getting along for once. To the void of space, Virgil flatly responded. Roman let his arm go. Virgil walked away to the safety of his bedroom. Once there, Virgil switched to black jeans, combat boots, and a thick hoodie on top of his shirt. After about 20 minutes of hanging around his room, Virgil walked downstairs. Going over to the kitchen, Virgil grabbed a cup, pouring himself coffee. They ventured over to the main area and sat down on a seat next to Roman. Pat and Logan were sharing the other sofa. Janice and Remus were sitting across from each other at the coffee table, still playing cards. Virgil took a swig of his coffee. A glance out the window could show the snow piling up rather quickly. The living room fell into comfortable silence besides Janice and Remus. A few minutes passed before Patton whispered something to Logan. Logan nodded as Patton stood up. "Let's all go outside!" the father figure excitedly urged them. "Get some boots and warm clothes," he added. Roman snapped his fingers, and he was wearing a thick red trench coat over his Christmas sweater and sweatpants. He also was wearing red boots and golden accents on the pair of matching gloves. Virgil ran upstairs to grab a beanie and gloves. After returning, Virgil noticed Logan walking down the stairs. Logan had on, from what Virgil could see, a heavy jacket, jeans, and some snow boots. The teacher character was sliding on gloves as Patton walked in. He had a light blue jacket over his shirt. He also had jeans and gray boots. The dad character was placing a beanie with cat ears on his head. "Let's go, kiddos!" Janice and Remus looked up from their game. "Stay warm," Janice joked, watching Patton walk out the door. The others followed him. Patton lay down on the thin white sheet covering the ground. It looked like more or less an inch. Virgil was walking around in the snow, enjoying the grace of the snowfall. Then, thud! Virgil felt something hit his back and turned around. Roman was preparing another snowball to toss at him. Virgil grabbed a handful of the plush snow and pressed it together, tossing it towards the prince. It didn't hit him, but it started a snowball fight. It went on for some time. Some hits, some misses. Virgil slipped and hit the snow. Each time they grab snow, Virgil always ends up grazing the grass while doing it. The current fall quickly replenished any that they took. Roman stood over him, placing his boot on his chest. "Any last words, Hot Topic?" Roman smugly asked. A snowball was in his hand, and he was gonna throw it at him. "Hakuna Matata," Virgil replied. He leaned forward, being careful not to hurt Virgil. "It means no worries." As his face was close, Virgil grabbed some snow and hit him in the face with it. Roman backed up, confused, and Virgil took the opportunity to run. "Hey, no fair!" He laughed and ran after the darker persona, who ran behind Patton. Roman tried to toss a snowball at him, but hit the father figure instead. Patton joined in the little fight, and eventually Logan did too. Teams were formed over time. Patton and Virgil versus Roman and Logan. Patton was busy piling snow, and Virgil was out to scope out where the other team was and making their hideout. They were near the bushes. Virgil got hit in the side. Logan was behind a mound of snow. Virgil tossed some back and heard Roman. "Found it," Virgil thought to himself. Virgil looped around the house and went to Patton. "I found their hideaway," Virgil whispered. "Good, now we plan," Patton whispered. Taking 5 or 6 minutes, Virgil looked around the front while Patton took a long way around. Virgil was in the trees, near the front, then stepping out, staying in the open. Roman looked at Logan. "Virgil is out in the open. Let's gather enough snowballs, and then ambush," he whispered. They spent some time collecting small amounts of snowballs. "Charge!" the prince shouted. Logan opened fire, throwing them at Virgil before grabbing one of his teammates. Roman suddenly tumbled over, feeling a chilling sensation over his neck. He shrieked, as a reaction. Virgil heard Roman's voice and noticed Logan starting tossing at me. Virgil played along, getting hit a few times, tossing others. Virgil heard a roar from Roman, then Patton's voice. "Are you all right, kiddo?" It echoed through the open area where they were in. "Yeah, I'm fine, Pat," Virg heard Roman say. Virgil sat down in the snow for a second, banter starting with the other sides. After a few minutes, Virgil laid down, staring at the sky above the snowfall, hearing the crunch beside him. "What are you doing?" Roman was above him again. Virgil gave a half-attempted shrug. He laid down next to Virgil and shivering before sitting up. "The snow is a tad cold." He looked at the other one. "Are you okay, Virgil?" Virgil was surprised he asked that. He must have noticed the surprise in his expression. "You look tired." "I'm fine," Virgil muttered back to him. "It's close to 2 in the afternoon. I think we should all go inside," Logan yelled, out of the informative way. He walked off, probably to Patton. 5 hours? Virgil asked. It felt so much shorter. "Time flies when you're having fun, huh, Emo?" Roman spoke, turning around and walking back. Halfway back, he turned and faced the tree Virgil was at. "You coming?" Virgil nodded, walking over to him as they walked together to the house. Walking aside, Paddin walked up to them. "Since most of our clothes are wet, Logan said he was going to change into something dry and warmer." Virgil nodded, walking off to his room. After reaching it, Virgil changed into sweatpants, a t-shirt, and an oversized hoodie. Virgil changed his socks into a Nightmare Before Christmas socks, hanging out in his room for a while before deciding to venture out. Virgil walked down to the living room, and everyone else already there. Remus and Roman were arguing about what movie they should watch. Paddin was making hot chocolate for everyone. Virgil, choose. The Santa Claus with Tim Allen or How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Roman was seeking an answer. The Santa Claus, I guess? Virgil hesitantly replied before sitting on one of those empty sofas, still warming up from the cold. I told you, Remus, it's better! Roman grabbed the disc. Remus growled. He inserted the disc as Paddin walked in, passing a mug to Janice and one to Remus. Do you need help, Pat? Virgil asked. He shook his head, assuring Virgil he was fine. Virgil leaned into the sofa. Roman sat down next to him. Paddin was somehow holding 4 cups, placing 2 in front of Roman and Virgil. He handed one to Logan and sat down. The movie played in the background as Virgil started falling asleep. Virgil leaned against his hand before falling asleep. Don't you dare wake him up, Virgil heard a voice tell someone. Paddin, he slept through the movie. I think we should continue the day. It's been over 1 hour. Virgil yawned, rubbing his sleepy eyes. Kiddo, did we wake you? Paddin directed his attention. Virgil shook his head. Okay, sorry, your hot chocolate got cold. You fell asleep right as the movie started. Paddin turned around. Roman, get off the table! Roman was standing on the coffee table. Guys, we're having an ugly Christmas sweater contest, he announced. A few rules. 1. Nothing inappropriate. 2. Everyone has to participate. 3. No sabotaging or stealing other people's ideas. 4. Use the sweaters provided so it's fair. We are all gonna gather in 2 hours wearing our sweaters. 2 hours seems extremely excessive, Logan spoke up. You're not the one making the rules. I am. Now everyone, let the challenge begin. Roman proudly hopped off after finishing his sentence. He summoned and passed out each a red and green sweater. Virgil slunk down to his room right after he got his sweater. Virgil looked around his room, finding an idea, grabbing a sewing kit, and heading to work. 20 minutes later, Virgil walked downstairs without the sweater, plopping down on the couch, starting to scroll through his phone. Finished the quest already? Roman asked smugly. Virgil didn't reply and continued to scroll. The prince scoffed at his lack of response and walked off. About an hour later, everyone was downstairs waiting around. Everyone was done. Logan was right again. Roman spoke up after realizing some of them were running short on patience. Paddin was sitting on the couch humming Christmas songs, wearing a sweater, ornaments carefully sewn on. Virgil was still sprawled out on the couch. Janice didn't want to wear a sweater and shut the door in Roman's face. And Remus, he honestly just didn't care what Remus was up to. Everyone should have their sweaters on. Roman gestured to Virgil, who sighed and walked towards his room. He turned back, and his dark jacket tightly pulled up around him. After Virgil sat back down, Roman announced, All right, let's start. He placed his phone down. It was playing Christmas music. What are we doing again with these ugly Christmas sweaters? Logan put finger quotes around the word ugly. The logical trait sweater had tinsel garland wrapping around him in stripes. A contest! We will vote on whose sweater is best, and they get bragging rights. The prince's sweater was blinking with Christmas lights, and they were woven into the fabric. So I will pass out a voting paper and pen. I want the pens back. Roman placed the slip and pen in front of Paddin and gave Logan his own set. Once he reached Virgil. What's on your sweater, Virgil? Virgil looked a little flustered. It's stupid, Virgil nervously replied, pulling his jacket even more on to cover what he had put on. I don't think it's a very good idea. And he got cut off by Patton. "Come on, kiddo, what's the worst thing? You don't win?" Patton gently encouraged. "Most of us will in fact lose, if not everyone," Logan stated. Fine." Virgil loosened his jacket. It just barely showed a round, reflective disc in the center, which was tightly sewn onto the sweater. Roman just sighed in defeat and gave him a slip and pen. "Also, we don't waste our creations. We will keep them on for now," Roman added. "But it's like 5:30. Virgil complained, glancing out the window at the golden sun meeting his eye line. He squinted away. He laid himself on the couch, his jacket adjusting to him shifting. "Wait," Roman said in an attempt to hold off a laugh. "Did you put a mirror on your sweater?" "Let's just vote so we can all stop talking about this," the paler one argued. Roman nodded. Everyone wrote down a name. Roman won, and everyone went to do their own stuff. Logan and Patton decided to just watch another movie together. Roman went to his room, and Virgil went to his own. Virgil tugged the hoodie back over the sweater. "No?" "Wait, kiddo, really? Why didn't I think that?" Patton chuckled, looking at the side of the couch. "Later on." Virgil was done with his. It was about 9. So, for the past few hours, it's been Christmas music. Virgil doesn't hate the music, but it's been well over 3 hours of non-stop music. And Roman singing. He tried the headphones. It just got a few years ago. But he still heard what was being blasted through his own playlist. He heard knocking from the next room over. The music stopped, then footsteps. Virgil changed into different Christmas sweater. It was the first thing he did getting into his room. It was black, with the basic pattern on. "Hey, kiddo, we're all going to spend some time together. Can you join us?" Patton called out through the still-closed door. Virgil walked over, opening the door. With a sigh, the darker one replied, "Sure, why not?" With a squeal, and the bright father figure dragged Virgil to the living room. They were already playing Christmas music from a small speaker. He sat on the floor, leaning against each other. "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas" started to serenade to the living room. Logan walked over to Patton and nervously questioned, "Can I have this dance?" He held out his hand. Patton excitedly gasped, taking the hand as logic pulled him up. "Of course, Loki," Patton responded. Logan wrapped an arm around Patton's waist, Patton adjusting his hand softly onto the smarter tree's shoulder. They danced around the room, semi-gracefully. Logan with a soft smile, and Patton with a smile so bright the sun would be jealous. The song guided them through its soft melodies and rhythm. Virgil and Roman shared a glance. Virgil sighed, and Roman stood up. "I feel like I am indebted, aren't I, Storm Cloud?" Roman held out his hand. "Shall we dance?" Virgil took the offer, hand being dragged to his feet. "I'll never accept a bet again," the darker trait informed. "You know you like it," the prince defended himself and started guiding the anxious one into a slow waltz, gently humming along to the music. The end. Thank you so much for listening today. I really could not read that. English has not been my strong suit today. I mean, to be fair, it's 2 a.m. But you know what? We're vibing. We're just straight up vibing. And also my throat's sore now, so choir's going to be fun tomorrow. I'd like to thank Backstreet Spears for making this fic. And also you, posted, 4 or 5 of my links onto here. And, promo aggressively much. If you like to read the fic for yourself, the link to it will be in the description below because, yes, read the fic. And I need water and maybe a tub of glitter, and then I could just live off of that for the next week. It'd be great. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. My social media links are in the description below. You should check out my Twitter, which has been pretty dead, or my Discord, which has been really poppin'. Either way you want to play it, you could check out stuff. If you go to my Wattpad, which is also linked in the description, you can find my one-shot book, which I am writing all my one-shots for the Gift of Fanfiction into for this week. So on the screen right about now, you should start seeing some things pop up. The playlist for the Gift of Fanfiction, which you could listen to all the episodes in. You have the original video, which you could click on to submit something, and the Wattpad Read Aloud playlist, where you can listen to all these. And like always, do your best.